Georgiana, thank you very much for being on my podcast. It's always a pleasure to interview an entrepreneur whose career journey really is a lesson for all of us. So, I'd like you to start by telling us more about your professional trajectory because you've done lots of things.
I'm trying my best. Good morning, first of all, and thank you so much for taking the time to to invite me to your podcast. It's a bit unusual for me because I also have a podcast of my own. So
Yes.
I'm normally the one who's in the, the organizer's chair. But this is usually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me to just have insightful conversations and to, go deeper into my trajectory, like you said, into the things I do, because I almost never have time for reflection or
Mm,
self reflection. And yeah, I'm a founder. I'm a multiple times founder, if I can say so, an entrepreneur. I started on this journey of entrepreneurship in 2012 after my PhD in political communication. I had a printing house initially, a very small boutique one, and then I went into creating this digital marketing or content marketing agency, as it was at the time in 2012, 2013. We were pioneers in content marketing in Romania, if I can say so, because this is all we did, very little social media marketing and a lot of content marketing.
yeah.
The agency was called Beagle Cat, and it's no longer functioning today in the form of that time. We had a good run. We had a good run with digital marketing clients all over the world. We worked a lot in employer branding,
Mhm.
especially in Germany and Romania. And I did a lot of consulting work in employer branding, both me and my colleagues. And I think 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, I started this shoe brand called the Mad Shoes, which is inspired from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, it's a very dear project to me because I've always loved shoes, and I aim to bring together artisans who create unique accessories that I then use for these shoes, which are made in very limited collections. So yeah, this is a little bit my story.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating. You seem to have done different things and you've moved across industries. And I'm really curious to sort of understand what pulled you towards marketing because you are a university professor, you taught communication sciences,
Yeah.
you have a PhD in political studies, political sciences. So, how did you make the transition into marketing?
Well, I studied communication and public relations. I think I was one of the very few generations in Romania to study communication and PR. Not
Mm,
much was known about it at the time. The difference for me was that this faculty was encompassed by the faculty of philosophy, which made it that I also studied a lot of social science, a lot of political science, anthropology, sociology, all the sciences that you wouldn't normally have in a communication curriculum these days.
mm, yeah.
So that kind of helped me to expand my horizon. And I know this doesn't answer your question. I'm only broadening or justifying the broadening of my career somehow. But anyway, one of the subjects that always attracted my attention was advertising and marketing.
Mhm.
And I had the chance to study abroad as an Erasmus scholar in my third year of studies in Belgium in the Adaptability School. And I had a marketing class there, which really attracted my attention. I also had an impressive teacher who taught creative writing. And I remember enjoying those classes so much. And I was really good at it. I was always good at writing and at speaking languages, basically. If I should
Yeah.
sum up two of my best attributes, I think these would be it. And then when I finished my PhD and I had to decide whether I want to continue teaching at the university, which I still miss up to these days. I miss not, you know, working in the system, but interacting with the students. This is something I really, really love. So I had to make a decision, what should I do now if I want to be on my own? What do I do best? Well, I speak English and I also write in English and I write quite well. So
Yeah.
let's see how we can mingle these two. And one thing led to another. I started my own project and then I brought in some more people into the agency. It's content marketing initially, but then it's kind of encompassed digital marketing in general.
it's a great journey. I like what you said about missing being a professor. I think once a teacher, always a teacher, right? You're always a
You are
teacher
so
at heart.
right. Yes.
But you seem to have lots of transferable skills that you were able to bring into marketing, which is the communication side of things, and this like wider understanding of various sciences, which would only make you a better communicator and therefore a better marketer. And also, I'm sure there are multiple transferable skills that you are bringing into your new shoe business, which is absolutely fascinating. So I do applaud the courage of starting not an online business, but actually something a lot more complex than that. You started from a passion for shoes, and they are absolutely beautiful. We do encourage people to go and just peruse the pages and admire their beauty. And I mean, they are very, very unique because you include gold right into the actual shoe and porcelain, and they're all manufactured in Romania. Like there's nothing outsourced. And that's how did it all happen, and which skills are you currently using to build your business?
You know what? I've been asking myself this question for a long time because I always want to get better at what I do. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of good at so many things, but never good enough at all of them. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yes.
I think as an entrepreneur, you have to have that spirit of initiative. Like you have to have the spark, the idea. I love fashion, so I was able to bring some of that love for fashion and design into what I'm doing right now as an entrepreneur. But otherwise, I think what I've been these past few years, where it has been really hard economically, it has been tough on us and on me and on my entire team, on me personally, professionally, I was adaptable, I think, first and foremost. And I was able to transfer the knowledge that I got along the way, which is never, like I said, super professional, specialist SEO knowledge or Google Ads knowledge or Facebook ads knowledge. It's never, that intense. But I know how good looks like, and I
Yeah.
know what needs to be done in order to get better results. And I think this is what an entrepreneur, having been an entrepreneur in digital marketing, has taught me how to grow a team, how to look for what the team is delivering, how to achieve results, how to evaluate those results, and how to, eventually just pursue the goal. And for me at this moment, the goal is to sell shoes and to make this shoe brand, the Mad Shoes, as well known as possible. Luckily, I also know a bit of marketing, a bit more.
A bit more than yeah, just a little bit.
And Anna, really, that helps tremendously. Since we work in marketing, I think for you it's the same as it is for me. We tend to believe that everyone knows about marketing.
Yes.
We have to do this and we have to do that. I lack the budgets most of the time, but I know what needs to be done. But not everybody does.
Yeah.
And I talk to other fashion founders, most of them who are fashion designers, and they're not entirely clueless. I don't want to sound arrogant, but they come from a different point. They come from a different background. They focus so much on the product and on making this exquisite product, but then they don't know how to market it. And this is their problem. They don't have a website that sells, they don't have a brand that sells. So, this is, I think, the reason why I'm super grateful for the background that I have and for the trajectory that I've had. Although at times it seemed like I was doing too many things and they didn't add up.
But they all make sense. These different experiences, they only enrich you. Okay, so I'm a marketing generalist myself, and I think there's definitely power in knowing, a little bit of everything when it comes to marketing. And what would you say to encourage somebody who maybe is a marketing generalist or just a marketing professional and is thinking to start their own business?
Consider yourself lucky that you're a marketer because I think marketing and sales are at the cornerstone of every successful business. If you don't master these two skills, at least a little bit, you stand no chance.
That's
I mean, you
right.
can bring in people to work for you and help with that, but if you don't know what to ask of them,
Yes.
it's not really. So just, be patient and enhance your skills as much as you can. And you know what? Now of course, we don't do everything in house anymore. You cannot know everything. And I've done so much more than digital marketing in these past few years. I cannot claim to know it all anymore. So I work with specialists, with contractors, with collaborators who are very good at what they do. And I think it helps that we have a common understanding of things. It really, really helps.
Yeah, yeah, and understanding the principles of marketing is very important, not just the tactics. And also, I think you've mentioned an important point that as an entrepreneur, you need to learn to delegate and bring people in other specialities. You know, like you said, maybe product designers or accountants, or we don't need to do everything ourselves, which can be the temptation, especially at the beginning.
Especially for a
You're
woman.
Especially for a woman. That's right. Yes. Let's think maybe about the Mad Shoes brand. Okay, it's a Romanian brand. What would you like it to be known for? And what was your thinking process when chose the brand's values?
You know what, Anna? This everything that you're saying is extremely coherent, and it sounds so well and so nice. And I wish I had the same train of thought when I started, but I really didn't. I mean, I just dove right in, and now looking back, I made so many mistakes. And I made like the most ridiculous mistakes. For instance, my first batch of shoes, which was I think 70 pairs, and they are very expensive, right? They're handmade in Romania, one by one, limited edition collections. Each pair is extremely expensive as it exits the factory, okay? Not to add anything else on top. I purchased 70 pairs of fuchsia satin stilettos. I have no idea what was going on in my head. I somehow was thinking that everyone's going to tune into my vision and everyone's going to, appreciate what I was doing and they're going to buy it like crazy. But they didn't, of course. I mean, they appreciated what I had in mind. I had these accessories which were unique, very beautiful, very bold. People wore these shoes at the Emmys. They wear them at Disney premieres. The same first shoes, the first same batch that I created. So I
Wow.
wasn't entirely out of my mind,
Yeah.
but it didn't cater to you and I in the end.
Right.
Because we want to buy shoes which can support us during the day. We don't want 10-centimeter heels that are fuchsia. Maybe we
Right.
want them in beige, maybe we want them in nude, in black, and brown first. And then we'll go to baby blue and fuchsia and mint and all the others, right? So I lacked all of this preparation, although I did market research. Me and my colleague, we spent quite a bit of time on this. And I remember wanting myself to purchase a pair of fuchsia stilettos. I think it was already 2 years ago. Now the wave has kind of crashed. They aren't so stylish. They are always stylish. I mean, you can always have them in your wardrobe and wear them with whatever you want, but you
Yeah.
don't find them everywhere. There was a point in time 2 years ago, when all the big brands were selling fuchsia stilettos. And I remember being in the States for a friend's wedding in Texas, and I was at the mall, and I wanted to buy myself this pair of stilettos, fuchsia stilettos, and I couldn't find any model that I wanted. $900, $1,000. This is crazy. This is
Wow.
absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
There has to be a way to create shoes which look amazing that are fuchsia, alternatively, why not? And that don't cost an arm and a leg. There has to be a way. So this is how I started, and the only coherent plan, if I can say so, that I had was that I love Alice in Wonderland so much. I worked with this impressive designer who's also a friend of mine, and he helped us craft a brand that's, I would say, yeah, memorable.
The shoes are a work of art, and
Thank you.
they're just so different because you wouldn't expect to have gold encased into a pair of shoes. They just are beautiful. So thank you. I do like the sort of realistic image you've painted about how you started, and I think many times life just doesn't follow the textbook, right?
No,
It doesn't quite happen that way. You have to experiment and discover the right formula for the brand, for your business. It was the same in my case, and I have made my fair share of mistakes as well along the way. You also don't have the information when you get started. There's so many things that you learn throughout the process. Maybe we should, I don't know, encourage future entrepreneurs by telling them that you probably won't get it all right from the beginning, but that's fine. That's the case with the majority of us. Just continue to experiment, learn, refine, improve,
great.
reiterate. because you, in terms of your shoes, have launched a new collection or new designs, right, that are catering more for the everyday
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. We've
use.
learned our mistakes. We've recalibrated the entire collection. We are now also producing ballerina shoes that are super successful. I would say the most successful shoe so far. And it kind of all went backwards. I could have started with ballerina shoes. But then I tell myself, you know what? Maybe if I hadn't had that striking passion or will to craft a fuchsia satin stiletto, maybe I wouldn't be where I am.
That's
So I
right.
should just, be grateful for the journey and be not as harsh with myself as I tend to be. Because we women are super perfectionists, and this is not always a good thing.
No, no, it probably holds us back a little bit, right? Because it can't go live until it's perfect, and it's never perfect, and therefore we never do the thing. Thank you for being genuine, Georgiana, because especially on social media, it's an ecosystem where we tend to celebrate our achievements. It's all very, very positive, but it's rare that you find people who would openly talk about, well, things that could have done better, or about their mistakes. And it's refreshing to hear that, look, we're not the only ones, we all make mistakes.
Definitely, and I think I was very lucky, and I had so much to learn from the IT industry where I worked. I forgot to mention that most of my career in digital marketing and employer branding was in IT. So I worked with a lot of tech professionals. I did a lot of training these past 3, 4 years, and this has helped me to get a different understanding of what it takes to get to that product which works. Several iterations, and I always told myself, if they do it this way in IT, why not, extrapolate it to a product in real life and just try every time to get a better product, a better collection each time, and experiment, you learn, and then you repeat.
Mm.
So this was very helpful to get back to your initial question. What I would tell people who are fortunate to be working as marketers in IT, there's so much this industry can teach you. So much.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, when I look back at your career journey, I think the word that stands out to me is versatile, right?
Mhm.
And being adaptable, and kind of reading the market and seeing what changes you need to make. And I think that's going to be key nowadays. We are going to need to be adaptable, and I think you're a prime example of being able to navigate different professions and have this adaptability that is fantastic. And so actually, when you think about your entire career, what are the things that you could have done better, or maybe the mistakes that you've learned from?
Things that I could have done better. I think I could have picked one subdomain in digital marketing and really, really improve on that. And maybe I did in a way because I'm still good at writing copy, although I'm not chief copywriter in my company for many years. But I can also always draft a good Instagram post or a good LinkedIn post, which I think is a good skill to have
Yes.
and very much required.
Yeah.
They don't really sound bland, or annoying or boring. But the mistake I made was in the beginning of founding the Mad Shoes was that I thought that service marketing, because we used to do business to business digital marketing in Beagle Cat, was similar to product marketing. It has nothing to do. The
No.
two are completely different. I now entered the world of e-commerce, the world of Shopify integrations, Shopify websites, payments, merchants, Google ads for products as opposed to Google ads for services, Instagram ads for products. It's a completely different industry. And I sometimes look back and I tell myself, why wasn't I ever interested in studying, at least a little bit, like officially studying product marketing.
Yeah.
I'm learning it as I go. And luckily, I have the means and the capacity to work with people who are super good at product marketing, and they chime in and they help us grow the brand as we speak. But I maybe would have appreciated having some more formal background on that direction.
Yeah. But again, I think you haven't learned it because you just haven't had the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know,
That is
now you have the context, now you have the motivation to do so, whereas beforehand, you worked for IT companies. So it makes sense to me. And also, I think there is a lot to be said about being a generalist marketer, especially companies from certain industries or of a certain size do benefit from marketing generalists. And so, we don't all have to be specialists, I suppose. But at the same time, from point onwards, you do have to bring agencies in for things like SEO or PR or whatever. But you do have an understanding as a generalist of that specific area. And there is a book. Oh gosh, see if I can find it now.
book written for us generalists because you know what? I was actually upset with myself for a while that I didn't get into product marketing more in depth. And a few weeks ago, I was thinking I should maybe start a program, a course at one of these prestigious design institutes because I want to have more formal or more in-depth fashion background also. And I'm not saying I won't because I probably will at some point. And at the same time, then I was thinking, you know what? The workday only has 8 hours, and we entrepreneurs don't work 8 hours anyway. We work
Yeah,
here and there and everywhere a little bit, and on the beach and on holiday and everywhere. So, you know what? We do what we can with the context that we have, and being a mother is hard, and being a wife, and managing a household and managing a company is hard. So, in the end, like you said, let's be good generalists, do the best that we can with the given situation.
that's right. We have to do our best in the context we're in, right? And not be too harsh on ourselves. I found the name of the book is called Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. So here we go.
Actually, I read this book right before I started with the Mad Shoes brand because I was afraid that I was maybe going into a direction which is way too broad, and it's bad to be a generalist. I remember my train of thought at the time. And then I read this book and I said, huh, okay, I actually might have been on a good journey, and let's just stick to what comes to mind and what feels like it's a normal continuation of what I've been doing. Yeah, that is a tremendous book, Range. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So we highly recommend it. And you see, I think different things are suitable for different people. Some people should become specialized in an area of marketing, but it very much depends on their career trajectories, their goals, what they're doing is different. There's no set formula necessarily. So you've mentioned being a female entrepreneur. What advice would you give to women who want to start their own business?
I get asked this a lot, and I have to say it's no easy feat because you need a lot of patience before a business really takes off. And that involves having some sort of, I wouldn't say backup plan, but having the means to sustain your goals
Yes.
and to continue growing your business. And of course, I'm really fortunate to also have my husband, who has been my number one supporter since I started this brand. We also, as we were doing digital marketing projects in the agency, we set money aside, and I was talking to my colleague about it, and I said, you know what, if the market goes downhill, we'll need to do something else. And Ioana was asking me, but what? I said, I don't know, I have no idea, but we're going to have to switch gears at some point. So we set some money aside for whatever that project would have been, and that was really helpful. I mean, it covered not all of the steps, but most of the steps in creating the brand, initial production, branding, research, some advertising. It helps you somehow stay afloat. You're not going to make a huge profit in the very beginning, but at least you're not going to lose any money. You're
That's
going to
right.
have the means to go on and on. And this is what I would tell every woman: make sure there's some support there, because there will be a time when you will only be doing this full time, but that time is not very near.
Yeah, very wise advice. Thank you. I agree with sets with the idea of having some savings or having a financial cushion of some sort. And that is my case as well. I haven't made six figures from month one, even though some social media influencers might trick us into believing that that's possible. It'll take time to build a business. It takes a lot of resilience. You have to work hard
Yeah, and they
without
say
necessarily seeing results immediately.
exactly, exactly. And I keep talking to women entrepreneurs, and everyone's telling me, make sure you get to 3 years. Make sure you get to 3 years.
Mhm.
There's like this benchmark. I don't know if it takes 3 years for a brand to grow organically, or it's a benchmark for you in your head to just go full in. I have no idea. But 3 years is a lot and not so much at the same time.
Yes, financially it can be a lot, right?
Yep.
This is why you need that cushion. At the same time, time flies, right? We're recording this in May, and Christmas feels like yesterday. And I think it's so important to be consistent because people will choose brands that they trust and that they're familiar with. In order for that to happen, they need to be exposed to that brand. Whether it's personal, whether it's a product brand, they have to be exposed to it again and again and again, right? And so you have to stay the course in
Yep.
order to achieve that consistency that leads to trust and that eventually will lead to a purchase. So I subscribe to that theory. All right, Georgiana. Well, please tell us where we can find you online.
I'm everywhere, if you can count LinkedIn and Instagram at the same time, everywhere. There's my website, thematchshoes.com. But for all marketing professionals, I think LinkedIn is the best place
Yeah,
where I am
brilliant.
today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Same here. Really nice conversation and very, very thoughtful of you.
Thank you very much.